All right.
We are live.
Yes, and we have some attendees. It's so exciting. Hello, everyone. We'll let everybody get settled. We're so excited to see everybody. We are waiting for one other of our members of our staff. So if someone pops in, we'll introduce them. All right, it's 6 o'clock and we only have an hour to share with you everything that we want to share. There's Vince. Hi, Vince. So first of all, let us just thank you for being here. We appreciate you guys being at the STEM Expo kickoff. It's become a tradition to kind of do this by webinar and introduce you guys to the STEM Expo, answer questions, give you ideas, tell you what to expect. And then our fabulous Peggy Hernandez is going to take it over and give you guys some ideas of projects you can do and also tell you a little bit about the night sky. So we hope you have a lot of fun. Now, I'm Deb McMullen. I am your U46 Science Coordinator, and I'm going to have our staff introduce themselves. But so you guys know what we do in our department, we support every teacher who teaches science. Hold on a minute. Pre-K through 12th grade. And so that works out to be about 12,000, no, 2,000 teachers that this department supports. So go ahead and take turns introducing yourselves, please.
I'm Frankie Valencia, and I am the secondary science instructional coach. Welcome to our first STEM Expo kickoff.
Vince.
He might not be able to. Oh.
My video is not enabled, but hi, I'm Vince Fosco, and I'm primary science coach.
Hello, my name. Oh, go ahead.
And I'm Peggy Hernandez, and I am the planetarium teacher. And we also have Joe Kellenberger this year, who is the other planetarium teacher or planetarium teacher in training that will be full-time next year. We're teaching together this year.
And then I'm Christina Rodriguez, and I'm the administrative secretary for our department.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get this started. And Peggy sort of glossed over something super important. We're so happy for Peggy. We're gonna miss her greatly. She's retiring. This is her last year. So if you're coming to the planetarium this year and visiting, this will be your last chance, at least in the planetarium formal setting, to learn from Mrs. Hernandez. So it's a special year, but you're gonna be meeting Mr. Kellenberger, and he is taking over for Peggy. So welcome to your last STEM Expo kickoff, unless we can talk you helping us next.
It'll be the best one.
It will be the best one. All right. So we do have some information to share with you guys. So I'm going to share this slideshow here. The first thing is we want to let you guys know that there is going to be another kickoff on the 25th. Now, if you've been with us for a while, you know that we do these virtually, and for the last few years, we have had U46 alumni Carrie Levitt-Bussian, who is a paleontologist in Utah. Well, this year, she came home to visit her family, and she's going to be with us live and in person. Mrs. Hernandez, you want to give some more details around that?
Yes, she went to Centennial and Eastview and Bartlett High, and she couldn't decide if she wanted to be an astronomer or paleontologist, and the dinosaurs won. So she is an expert in dinosaur bones, and she's the museum's, the collections. She works in the collections department, and she will be here live with some show and tell, some things that she can show us that are fossil dinosaur related, and it's going to be an amazing program. Lots of opportunities to ask her questions.
Seats are limited. So Ms. Rodriguez, if you could we're going to put into the chat the Google form. And so you guys will, if you want to attend that and you haven't set your spot yet, it's free. We just have limited seats. So we're going to put into the chat for you the Google form that your family can fill out so that you can get a seat to attend this. It's going to be a really great event. I know we're all excited because you know, we've been doing this virtually, and it's going to be nice to see her live. All right. Why aren't we working? Sorry. There we go. Okay, so the purpose of this is I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes. I'm going to give you some information about the overview of the STEM Expo. I'm going to provide you with ideas and resources to get you thinking. And you can put your questions into the chat or Q&A. You can ask questions about the Expo. You can ask the questions about our job. You can ask questions about the presentation that we're going to do later. We hope that you guys will just ask us a lot of questions. And especially if you've been somebody who participated before, if we make any kind of connections, or if you want to put anything in there to talk to kind of encourage your fellow students into doing this with us, we would greatly appreciate that. We hope to. Ms. Rodriguez, how many did we have last year? About 200.
Yep, like roughly 150, 200 attendees, participants.
Yeah, so we want to double that at least.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so what to expect? You're going to be able to register by Google form in February. Now, what do you have to do to get that link? Just being here is one way. We're going to send that link automatically to anyone who participated last year. We're going to have the letter in all the U46, the form, I'm sorry, in all of the U46 newsletters. We'll also be sending out blasts with those email blasts to your homes for that link. And then by being part of our kickoff events, we'll be sure to get you that. So in February, you can sign up. Now, the event is going to be in person. You can do this event by yourself. You could do this event with a friend. You could do this in a small team. And you don't have to be a U46 student in order to participate. Anyone who lives within the U46 boundaries is allowed to participate, and we encourage you to participate. What we're going to try and establish for you guys over the next two kickoffs is that we are looking for interesting phenomenon and inquiry investigations. We want to know what you guys are interested in learning about, and we're going to give you some ideas to help you with that, but we're really interested in your thoughts. Mrs. Hernandez, I know we'll have lots of opportunities to talk about that. Do you want to add anything about that now, or wait till later? Wait. All right, because we've got lots to show you. We wanted to give you some pictures, show you some pictures. So this event's going to be held at Eastview Middle School again in their gymnasium. There will be a series of 6 and 8 foot tables, and you will have half of a table. You can see here some of the pictures of young people who participated in the past. And so you'll have the table, you'll have a board, which when you register, we will get to you. You'll decorate that with your information. So you will give us, you will create use that board in order to tell us about what you learned in your inquiry. And then we have people who are really wonderful friends, and they're going to come and talk to you about your project. So you're going to get to share what you learned, and they might ask you some questions. And so this is a family event. Your whole family is invited. You'll be able to walk around and see other people's projects and ask them questions as well. We will be sending you information about the timing of the event. So it won't be an all-day thing. You'll be there for a couple of hours, some time to set up, some time to share your project, and then some time to tear down. And so you'll have plenty of time to check out other people's projects and also get feedback from our very capable thinking partners. It's not a contest, but we'll get into that later. So are there resources to help you? Yes. And we kind of put these around these questions and answers. So I'm shy, and I don't know if I want to share my project face-to-face in a gymnasium with a bunch of strangers. Is there another way I can share my research or my project? And the answer to that is yes. You can consider submitting a pre-recorded presentation. So you could do your presentation, do everything that you need to do that presentation, have somebody record you sharing it, and then send it to our office. The steps are on this link. And when you do that, you'll still get that feedback from people who interact with your project. How should I set up my presentation board? So you saw the boards in that last picture. Well, we have another link here for you. You can look at that, and that is going to show you how to set it up based on our recommendations. You can also email us and ask us questions. We're always happy to answer questions. But the one question that we get every year is, what do you mean by a phenomenon? What is an inquiry project? or how do I explain a phenomenon? Can you give us an example? And so, yes, we can. I've got one here for you. So check out these mysterious snails. I'm going to give you guys a second to look at them. And what I'm hoping is you might in the chat, what do you notice and what do you wonder about these mysterious snails? By the way, this is real. These are photos I took of snails when I was in Costa Rica. So what do you notice and what do you wonder about these snails? Hopefully you're wondering something. Maybe my staff will have to play. Maybe everybody's too shy tonight.
I have a question.
Okay.
What are all those little white circles by the pile on the left that don't look like, that doesn't look like part of the rock?
Oh,
That's a good question. I'm wondering what those are too. Yeah,
I'm noticing that they're all different colors.
they are all different colors.
And three of the pictures, they're all in a clump, like big families, but then one of them is just alone. I wonder if it has partners that it lives near also.
Yeah. And so if we happened upon these different pictures and we do these wondering, we might decide to do a research project. That might be one of our projects. We might look at something like this and ask some questions and decide that maybe we want to do a project around that. So I want to show you another picture. So this is pictures of when I was in Costa Rica. And what I want you to know is that all of those snails were in this one beach. And each of those groups of snails were just a few meters away from each other. And so my question was and I was noticing all those things, the little white dots, I was noticing all the different colors of them. And I asked one of the Costa Rican scientists that we were traveling with. So in this picture, I was part of a group from the Northern Illinois University. And we got to travel with all of these Costa Rican scientists. And one of them happened to have been a biologist. And here's a picture of her right here. And I said, are they all a different species of snail? And she said, no, they're all the same kind of snail. All the same species of snail. And that, of course, opened up a bunch of questions. And I think if you guys agree with me, my colleagues, if you guys agree with me, is that a testable hypothesis? So if we go back and I've confirmed that these are all the same species, do you have different questions now? Hopefully you do. What I
wonder why. I wonder if they're eating different things. That's
maybe
going to affect the color of their shell.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly how this works. You see something, a phenomenon that you think is interesting, and you ask a question, and then you seek to answer it. And sometimes science is doing research. Sometimes science is doing experiments, and the experiments might be to raise more questions, or you might be using them to confirm. And the same thing for research. You could run an experiment and then do some kind of research. Sometimes students think that a science expo project has to be this big, elaborate process with a mini chemical lab at home or something like that. What we want you to know is that scientists, just like the scientists in this picture, we we read, we talk to each other, we ask interesting questions. Sometimes we do experiments. Sometimes our experiments are observations that we make in the field. Sometimes we watch videos. Maybe somebody captured something interesting about these snails on YouTube, and I can find those, and they might give me a clue as to why they are, even within, in fact, all those snails that you saw there, I found in this location right here. They were all in this one little area. Why is that? And so that's what this is about. We want you to pick a project that you are interested in, a question you want to answer, and we want to help you figure out how to do that. That's our goal for this evening. All right. One other thing that we would like to just talk about before we get into that a little bit more detail about the phenomenon is we're looking for volunteers. And so high school students in National Honor Society perhaps need some hours, or college, and parents as well. We would like people to be peer review panel members, because remember I told you we don't judge this, but we actually have people who give you some feedback. And then volunteers to help us run the event, and then other community partners. And then other community partners to help us spread the word about these different projects and events, to help us out with that. To learn more about that, you can either email myself or you can email Christina Rodriguez, and we'll share those emails with you. All right, so then without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Mrs. Hernandez. I'm going to stop sharing.
Just doing the old switcheroony. All righty, here we go. If you've been to the planetarium, you recognize this picture, and it's showing the observatory that was used to measure time for the watch company, which started with a phenomenon. How can we figure out the exact correct time so we can make sure our watches are measuring time correctly? And they ended up realizing they could watch the stars. Every single one of your projects is going to start with some kind of a phenomenon or a problem to solve. And like Ms. McMullen keeps saying, a phenomenon is anything you're interested in that makes you wonder. And I had a new one today. I was walking, and this is a beautiful day to me. It's cloudy. It's not windy. I wasn't cold. I wasn't hot. It was just right. But I know it's supposed to rain. And I started wondering, does it always get cold when it rains? Because we usually think of rain as like an event that makes you feel chilly. And I wonder if I could, for several months, every time it rains, chart the temperature the day before, and then the temperature during the rain, and then the temperature the next day, and see if they stay the same, or if it goes up, or if it goes down, or if there's even a pattern at all. Maybe it does both. But being curious about that and charting that information is definitely part of the science and engineering process. And there's definitely some information, some content to be learned along the way that you could show on your board somehow, what your results are. Any kind of something that surprises you, like pretty soon in November and December, some of you are going to have a bus stop and it's still going to be kind of dark outside. Many of us are going to wake up, and many of us already are waking up, and it's totally dark out. Why is that in the wintertime? So there's all sorts of things that you can do when you think about that could turn into a science expo project. It doesn't have to be an experiment, but you could do an observational inquiry project. Like, you could watch things, see what's happening with the sun. I mean, day and night is associated with the sun. So what are some things you could do? Like, what kind of question would you want answered? The best questions are going to address the phenomenon. Like, why is it always so dark only in the winter? Exactly what time does it get dark? How does that darkness change? Can I predict when the darkness is going to end in the morning time? And if any of those are questions that you can do something to see if you can find an answer, you could do it. And I looked up all of our sunset times in Elgin from May through March, so basically a year. And I definitely noticed that they're not the same. The days get, the time that the sun sets gets later and later, and then it gets earlier and earlier. Does that do that every year? Now, just collecting those numbers isn't a STEM Expo project. But looking at those numbers and thinking about what they mean, or coming up with a graphical display to show some kind of a result, that would be a STEM Expo project. And could you do something like this? Of course. You could even watch where the sun sets. You could know what time the sun is setting, and on that week of July 25th, go out and make a drawing of where the sun is in your yard. Just look outside and draw a line on a piece of paper, draw the tree that you see in maybe the neighbor's garage or something in the fence, and draw a picture of where the sun is, an arrow, and put the date on it. And then do it again in August, and then do it again in September, and again in October, and again in November, and again in December, and then see if you end up finding a pattern. That would be a great STEM Expo project. Each grade level can do a similar project just at their grade level. Here are some ideas of what you can do for different grade levels. The first one was the real simple. Intermediate grades, you can add more stuff in. You can make a more complicated graph with doing this rise and set time, and also put the average temperature for that day. Is there a connection between those? Maybe you'll find it if you gather all that information and make those observations. What time is it until it's dark? How long does it take for it to get dark at night when the sun sets? What's the angle that the sun's hitting the horizon at? Does that make a difference in how early it gets dark or how late it gets dark? Where is the sun on the horizon? Chart where it is. A high schooler could do that same exact observational inquiry and maybe find a pattern. Any phenomenon that you've noticed that is interesting to you could end up being a science expo, a STEM expo project. It's not a cookbook like recipe of steps that you find in a book called 101 Great Science Fair Projects, because this is not a science fair project. It's a STEM expo project. It's way better because you can do so much more. And if you have to follow a step-by-step cookbook-like recipe in order to complete it, it's probably not really an inquiry on something that you're fully interested in. There's all sorts of ideas. These are ideas for astronomy-related STEM Expo projects that you could do. The nightly movement of the stars is a cool one. The nightly movement of the planets from one night to the next or 1 month to the next. That's an amazing one. The hours of sunlight. The geographic location of the sun and the times of the year. That's the one I just mentioned. All of these topics would make great STEM Expo projects. And you will get access to this slide deck. So you would be able to go back to this slide on your own and think about what you would like if one of these kind of interests you to do it as a project. And you can always email me if you have questions about it. All right, so let's go look at the stars.
While you're setting that up, Ms. Hernandez, some questions came in about the expo. Should we answer those now?
Yes.
We might need Miss Rodriguez. I
Okay.
don't know who else we might need. One was, will there be electricity available at Eastview?
And yes, there'll be extension cords if you guys need to borrow some. Yeah, we'll have plenty on deck.
Okay. Can we do a demonstration at the expo? This is always our favorite question. Somebody from my staff wants to type in. We've had very interesting kinds of questions. So do we allow demonstrations? Yeah. We
Yes.
We do.
do.
As long as-
That's the best answer beside me.
As long as it's part of a phenomenon that you're investigating, yes.
We do. And we do ask, if it's going to be a really messy kind of demonstration, maybe you film that. So if it's something exploding, or something like that, something that might be sort of dangerous. But if you want to do a demonstration and you want to run it by us for advice or an okay, just email us at that email that was in there earlier. But yes, demonstrations are fun. People like that. Any other idea, like to make their boards interesting? We could talk about this later because you guys all want to see the stars. But anything you can do to make your to show your project and what you learned and you're passionate about what you learned is what we want to see and what people want to see. They want to see your. And then how old do you have to be to participate in the STEM Expo?
And that's any age, K through
Yeah.
12. We've had kindergarteners do it. We've had some high school students do it as well. Yeah, it's a great
Yes.
opportunity for everybody.
It is. We want everyone to do this. All right. Sorry, Ms. Hernandez, take it away.
No need to apologize. Starts in kindergarten. Inquiry starts way before kindergarten. And inquiry of the night sky is something that fascinates me to this day. And I've looked at it a million times. It's not the same every time to me. And this is the sunset. This is the exact time outside right now, 6:26. So if I look towards the west, we can tell the sun right there is just setting. And if I look out the window, I must agree that that's about what it looks like outside. But we're going to fast forward time a little bit. So if you look at the bottom, you can see my timer going. I think you can. Let me do this. There we go. So we're at 6:30 now. Just like in the real sky, gradually you start to see things. Here's 6:45 tonight. It's not quite fully dark at 7, but pretty close. A really good time to go out and observe would probably be about 7:30, which I love that it's dark by 7:30. Because you can go out and look at the sky before bedtime. In the summer, that's hard when it's not dark until 9 or 9:30. So I'm going to pause right here at 7:30. I'm going to distort it a little bit, back up a little bit, go straight to the south. We watch the sun set in the west. And as we look in the south-southeast, you just can't miss Saturn. That definitely is Saturn. Saturn has been really bright. It's already up by 7:30. And we've got another bright star right up here in that direction. And I think that's Altair. We have Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a centaur, a man, half horse with a bow and arrow. But I see something that looks much more like a teapot. And I can kind of draw those lines in. And I wonder if you see a teapot here. It's kind of between south and southwest. And it's right here where I'm circling it. Sagittarius is up in the sky tonight as soon as it gets dark out. It's not too far from Saturn. And I can put the animals in, the Greek characters that these are all named after. And I can even put in the names of those constellations. Saturn is in Aquarius tonight. The next constellation after Aquarius is Pisces over here. We've got Capricorn. I think it's a sea goat, whatever that is. And there's Sagittarius. And just below it is the Scorpion. He's just a little bit below the horizon, right after it gets dark out tonight. And I know it's getting cloudy, so unfortunately, we will not be able to go out and see these tonight. But the next night that it's clear, that's what we'll see facing south. So if you spin your body towards the left, you'll then be looking east. And at 7:30, Jupiter is just on the horizon. If we go a little later, like if I fast forward to say 7:52, we've definitely got Jupiter. Oh, and Uranus is way, way behind Jupiter. You actually cannot see it with just your eyes. You have to have a telescope. But Jupiter, oh my goodness, super bright. It's actually a little bit brighter than Saturn is. So this is a little earlier than I thought. By 8 o'clock, you can go out and see Saturn up high in the southeast and Jupiter just rising in the east. I wonder if you see any of those pictures in the sky. Here's some drawings. Ooh, I see Pisces the fish right here. I don't know how somebody thought that looked like a fish, but it's famously known as a fish. And then right here is a horse with wings. At least that's what the ancient Greek people thought that it looked like. And we call that the Great Square of Pegasus. These are all in the east when it gets dark out. And if I continue to spin my body to the left, well, let me get these off. That looks a little too busy. Now we're going to be facing north, looking straight ahead. If we started walking in this direction and we could walk in a perfectly straight line, and if we could go over hills and mountains and lakes and snow and ice, we would eventually be at the North Pole. That's what that means. But look at all those beautiful stars in the north. I wonder if anybody sees anything familiar like a Big Dipper. Or if you've been to the planetarium recently, one of the brightest stars is Arcturus, and the Big Dipper points to it. I'll add in the lines to connect the dots that humans have made up to match their creatures in their stories. And right here, that almost looks like the snout of a bear, because here's the bear's front legs, and here's the bear's back legs, and here's his body. But the weird thing is, this bear has a tail, and that is part of the Big Dipper. Canis Major is the big bear, and inside of it is what we call the Big Dipper. And add those in right there. The Big Dipper. Big Dipper is the one that you can see low on the horizon in the fall and winter. But if you follow these two pointers, they always point you to this star, the 49th brightest star in the sky, not even close to being a bright star. And that is Polaris, the North Star. It's the last star in the tail of Little Dipper, known as Ursa Minor. Let's see a little better if I take the words off. That is the little bear. And one cool thing, if you focus on this North Star right here, Polaris, you focus on that star, and we fast forward to say, well, it's 7:55 right now. Let's fast forward to 8:30. Ready, set, here we go. Just keep staring at that star. We made it to 8:49. I'm wondering if you notice that that star never moves. And that's because that star is directly above the North Pole of planet Earth, and we spin on that pole. So that's the special thing about the North Star. It can help you know which way is north because it's always pointing directly above the North Star. The hard thing is finding it because it's not very bright. Find the Big Dipper and use those pointers to look for it. That's how you can look for it. And if we go a little to the left, we can follow. Oh, it went down. I went a little too far. If I go backwards in time, which this is a miracle of modern science, the world never spins backwards, but it made us lose sight a little bit of Arcturus. It's a very, very bright star, and the handle of the Big Dipper points to it. It arcs to Arcturus. It's in the northwest. It's one of the brightest stars in the sky tonight. And then if we spin around a little bit to the left, we are back in the west, which is where we just saw the sunset a good hour or so ago. Here are some of the dots connected. Ooh, now we see that Sagittarius again over on the left side. And if I back up, look straight up, right there is Vega, the brightest star in the sky in our summer and fall nighttime sky. And it is not too far from Cygnus the Swan. I'll draw the picture of her in there. Or there's Aguila the Eagle. And I got stuff here that's making me not see. There it is. Cygnus the Swan is up near the top of the screen. And that means it's up near the top part of the sky, like almost straight over your head is where you'll find the swan tonight. And then we can go back to the southern sky, and there's Saturn coming up. Saturn and Jupiter both easily up at 8:07 tonight. I'm going to pause time. I'll do questions in just a second if there are any. I would like to go to the year 2024, only not October, but maybe, April. Oh, in April at 8 o'clock, it's not dark out yet. That's why the sky scene just got brighter. But we could go to the 8th and not 8 o'clock at night, but let's go to 11 o'clock in the morning. Let's go even earlier. 10, 9, 8. 8 o'clock in the morning on April 8th. That's the moon right there near the sun. I have the moon greatly exaggerated in this picture so you can see it better. But look at the day before on April 7th, that's where the moon is. It's kind of hard to see because the dark side is facing us. When it gets close to the sun, it's really hard to see the moon. It's not the side that has light on it that's facing us. Here it was the day before that, and the day before, and the day before, and the day before, and the day before. So on April 2nd, that's where the moon's going to be. But every day it moves to the left. It's going to go right in front of the sun on April 8th and then just keep on going. April 8th, 2024, we have a solar eclipse. Now, this is at 8 o'clock in the morning, so we're going to fast forward a little bit. You won't notice anything at 8 o'clock in the morning. The moon's not actually in front of the disk of the sun. That doesn't start till around noon. So here's 9 a.m. 10 a.m. Sun is rising higher in the sky. That's normal. Here we are at about noon, 12:30 in the afternoon. The moon is almost centered in front of the sun. So it's starting to cover the sun. My moon on here is way bigger than in real life. That's just when it's hitting it, right around 12:30. Here it is at 1 o'clock. 1:37. I'm going to slow down a little bit because look at the sky. I wonder if you're noticing any changes. It's 1:45 at 2:07. 93% of the sun is going to be blocked. Whoa. I think it looks different. I can barely see the grass and the trees and that hill anymore. And the sky kind of looks almost like an eerie, darker blue, but not scary eerie, like a really cool eerie. Here it is at 2 o'clock, 2:01. At 2:07 p.m., 93% covered. It almost looks dark, but it doesn't stop there. The moon keeps moving in its path around us. And watch what happens to the brightness. I can tell that it's getting brighter. I can see the grass again and the different types of fields. And I can see that big hill again. And now it just looks like regular daytime again. By 2:45, it's going to look like regular daytime. It's going to be an amazing event. If you get to go to it with your family to the center line where it's 100%, you go and you have fun. And if you're at school, your teachers can take a little class and they can order glasses. We'll have safety viewing glasses for you, and you'll be able to go out with your class and hopefully some parent helpers and watch the eclipse from school. So are there any questions? Anything I can help you with?
Yes, there were some questions. There were some great observations, by the way, in Q&A. And one of them was that they thought it looked like a cat eye at one point where the moon was moving over. It reminded them of a pupil, I think.
Ooh, it does.
Yeah.
I agree.
It was a great observation.
Yep, it does.
And
Still does.
we have some really great observers in here. So lots of cool stuff in the Q&A. Sorry that I had the chat disabled earlier. So please use that chat, use the Q&A to, we want to interact with you. So here are some of the questions that came in recently. Make sure I get them all. Okay. How long did it take you to learn the constellations?
Well, that's an interesting question because I started getting interested in the stars when I was a teenager. And how long did it take me? Well, it was one at a time. So in a way, it's taken me since I was a teenager till now, and I'm pretty old, to know what I know. But it really just takes practice. And once you learn the bright ones, Big Dipper, Orion in the wintertime, we didn't see Orion because it's on the other side of the Earth at nighttime right now, but in January we'll see Orion. And then Orion's connected to Taurus, and Taurus is connected to the Pleiades, and the Pleiades is connected to this other one. And once you learn one, it just makes it a little easier to learn its next door neighbor, and then its next door neighbor. And it comes with practice and going outside and looking at it. And since I started working in the planetarium, I get a lot of practice because I get to see the stars every single day, multiple times a day. So that's a little special advantage I have.
All right, and so I'm gonna skip around. There's quite a few questions now. One is, do you have a favorite constellation?
I'd probably have more like a top 5. Of course, I'd have to say Orion. Orion's got all those bright stars in it, Betelgeuse, and it's got the belt, and it's got the Orion Nebula to look at. There's so much to look at in Orion. So I'll go with Orion.
You go with Orion. Okay, and then can you tell me about the eclipse on October 14th?
Oh, good. Great question. Yes. In just a couple of days, which is totally not surprising because this is 6 months from the next set of eclipses. They happen 2 different times a year, always 6 months apart. And it's an annular eclipse, which it's a solar eclipse. The moon's going to move in front of the sun. However, the moon does not go around us in a perfect circle, like a perfect hula hoop. It's kind of like squished, like a stretched rubber band a little bit. And so there's a day every month when the moon is a couple thousand miles farther away than the day when it's the closest to us. And when it's far, it actually looks a little smaller in the sky. And on Saturday, the moon is at its farthest. It's called a micromoon. It's the opposite of a supermoon. Same exact concept, just reversed. And it's just smaller enough that the rim of the sun shines through on the outside edges. That's called an annulus. It's a ring around the moon that's blocking most of the sun. That's if you're on the center line. And that is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles from us. We're only going to see the moon, the moon covering about 40% of the sun. So I don't know that you'll be able to notice anything at all outside unless you're looking at it through glasses or some kind of a viewing device, a cereal box, or there's all sorts of ways to look at projection devices on Google. They'll show you, there's tons of ways to learn how to make projection viewing devices. I think it's supposed to be kind of cloudy, but you might notice that it gets extra dark out. It'll get a little darker than it should be, and then a little bit lighter than it should be if it's cloudy. If it was clear, that would be more noticeable, but it won't be significant like the one coming up in April. It will hardly be noticeable.
So we'll have to know that it's there.
Yeah.
Well, in keeping with the eclipses, what is the difference between a solar and a lunar eclipse?
Great question. I don't have the animation up, but the main idea is in one of them, you look at the sun, and the other one, you look at the moon. So the one where you look at the moon, we call that a lunar eclipse. And that's when us humans on Earth look up in the nighttime sky at a full moon, and the sun is behind us, and the moon goes right through the Earth's shadow. So the moon usually takes about 4 hours to do that. When it's in the darkest part of the shadow, only the red light waves make it to the moon and then back to our eyes. So the moon always looks a kind of a rusty reddish brown for about an hour. And then it just moves on out. Oh, and 3 billion people at once can all see it. The entire nighttime side of the Earth can go outside and look up at the moon. Doesn't hurt your eyes. You don't need special glasses. That's lunar. A solar eclipse is when you look at Sol, the sun. So that has to be in the daytime. And if you're looking at the sun in the daytime, the moon is way closer to us. So that sun is out there and the moon goes right in front of it. So a solar eclipse is when they're also lined up, only the moon is in front of the sun.
That's great. I didn't know the difference between those. Someone asked, where is this located? And I think what this came in right after you were done talking about the April eclipse. So
this scene on this program, is that what that means?
Yeah, I think where are they gonna be able to see this eclipse? I think we just want to confirm that it's here.
Yeah, the eclipse, this one is going to come in through Mexico and up through Texas and like Arkansas and like Southern Illinois and Central Indiana and Ohio and like Buffalo, New York, fully on the center line. So the closest spot to us is about 5 hours away near Indianapolis, where the center line is, where if you're there, you have 4 minutes, almost 4 minutes, if you're on the very center line of the moon being completely in front of the sun, blocking it, and you can take off your viewing glasses and look at it. So it's several hundred miles, a couple hundred miles from here to get to the center line. We're only 93% covered here, but to go to it, you'd have to follow that path. And if you Google April 8th, 2024 eclipse path, there's probably 100 different legitimate sites you can get to that will show you the path.
All right, 2 more questions came in. One is, did only people from Greece name the constellation? It's a 2-part question, this one.
Okay.
Did only people from Greece name constellations, and was it all their imaginations?
No, pretty much every civilization of humans, and that is all the way from China, cultures in Africa, cultures in South America, all sorts of peoples all over the world have made up stories and imagined the pictures in the sky. There's a name for it. It's called pareidolia. And we do it with clouds too. We look at a cloud and we're like, oh, look, doesn't that look like a puppy with his tongue sticking out? And if you use your imagination, sometimes the clouds do look like things that we are familiar with. And all humans all over the place have had stories that they tell to each other. And they're telling these stories, and there's a fantastical one about a horse that has wings that saves Andromeda. And somebody said, hey, look, doesn't that kind of look like a horse with wings up there? And that was an ancient Greek person. And somebody said, yeah, that's it. We're going to call that one Pegasus. The famous ones that we use here in North America very frequently are the ancient Greek mythological tales associated with the constellations. But there are stories from all sorts of cultures. In England, the Big Dipper is called the Big Plow. In Africa, there's a Swahili folktale about how the 3 stars of what we call Orion's Belt, the ancient Greeks called Orion's Belt, it's actually the heads of 3 really, really tall giraffes. So the stories were made up by all sorts of people, and Stories in the Sky is an excellent book to look up, an excellent subject to look up. There's tons of really cool books in the library on different cultures and their stories in the sky. And the interesting thing is the names of the stars. Well, the ancient Babylonians in the Middle East, near today's Iran and Iraq, they were experts at documenting stars, and they gave them names. So a lot of the names of stars are Arabic, like in Libra, which in Greek mythology is the scales. Libra, it's a scale, like the scales of justice. That's Greek. But there's a star called Zubin el-Janubi, and there's another one called Jubanesh Kalami, something like that. And those are both Arabic terms. The planets, they come from the Roman gods and goddesses. So it's kind of like a big United Nations in the sky.
That's really cool. I like that. This question came in really early when you were kind of going through the constellation, so you may have actually answered this, but I just want to make sure we get everybody's question. Will we see any planets in October?
Yes, definitely Saturn, definitely Jupiter. After, I would say 8 o'clock. Wait until 8, and it's definitely going to be clear above the neighbor's garage and your trees and everything. And what I didn't get to, we weren't looking east at sunrise. So if I switch back to live and we just go later, later and later and later and later and later until the sun starts coming up. Let me go back just a little bit. This is 6:49 a.m. And if we go to 6:30 in the morning facing east, that's like towards Chicago, Venus is super, super bright. I mean, it is so bright, you can even see Venus as the sun's getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And if you're really, really good, you can, and you know where to look and you have a telescope, you can aim a telescope right at Venus in the daytime, and you can actually see it through a telescope. I can still see the teeny tiny little dot there. And yet it looks almost like daytime. So yes, Saturn, Jupiter, and Venus are all visible throughout the night.
Your icon on there must have just prompted this question. There was what was the weird, you and I talked about this today, we knew somebody was gonna ask us about the weird configuration of light that could be seen over northern Illinois.
Yeah, that was definitely Elon Musk's Starlink project. He's launching 60 satellites at a time. Well, they launch right after each other, like think almost like fireworks. One right after the other, and they are launching them up into the space, and they make a few runs around the Earth before they get up high enough to be in their orbit where we can't see them very well. So those first few runs as they go around the Earth, getting out to their orbit, the sunlight hits them. Even when it's nighttime here, the sunlight is still hitting them. They're so high above the Earth. And you can see them as a series of white dots that look like they're just marching across the sky. They're all satellites being launched for Elon Musk's Starlink project, which is to get Wi-Fi everywhere. Everywhere. Like there won't be such thing as like no signal, because there'll be Wi-Fi everywhere. And I always like to add, do you think it's going to be free?
No, I probably not. Another question that came in is, what is this program? You get this question every time.
Yep.
And maybe anybody can have it. So if you want to do a STAR project, this next part's for you.
Yep. It's called Stellarium. And it's web-based. So you can just go to the Stellarium website and run it straight from their website, or you can easily download it for any operating system. It's free. It's very safe. I don't know if I'd call it, well, it's basically easy to use, but there's a lot of cool functions if you want to spend some time really reading through the directions and play around with it. But for your basic viewing of what's up in the sky tonight, plug in the date and time. And to get that screen up, you just hover over on the left-hand side. That brings up the date time window, set your date and time, and you can say, hey, look, Venus and the moon are going to be up right before the sun tomorrow morning. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Stellarium is what it's called.
Yeah, I hope I spelled it right. And it's just, I think it's stellarium.com or something, right? It's
Stellarium.
Okay. Perfect. All right, that's it for now, I think.
Okay. So I will stop share.
So if you have any more questions, let us know. We're wondering if any of you participated last year.
Yeah, somebody saw himself in the picture, I think.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome. We'll have to get that pic. Was that Maxwell? Who was that? That's interesting.
I don't know how to check.
We can get those pictures to you if you email us. We can get those to you. But so we have one. Oh, it's anonymous. Okay, that doesn't help us. But if you want the picture anonymous, let us know. So then everybody who's in the still in the program, are you guys new to this process or anything else that we can answer for you?
Someone just said that it's their 7th year. Wow.
Yay. And
That's
that's because
awesome.
it's a lot of fun, and it's not a torturous like contest to see who can get a ribbon. It's about learning science and learning how to do science, and then walking around and looking at what everybody else did to learn some science.
It really is a fun day. And we don't want you to feel pressured. We want you to feel confident, and we want you to feel excited to share, your research. Hopefully you're in this room right now because you have a personal interest in science. And, we definitely can provide you a certificate. I know some of you, you might need some kind of proof or some kind of, validation that you were in there. So if you're going to go for a scholarship or something like that, we can definitely help you out with that. But really, this is fun. And we want you also to walk around and talk to, the other students who are presenting and ask them questions. That's what this is. That's what scientists do. Scientists ask questions of each other and they share what they've learned, and that usually spikes a new question, right, guys? I mean, that's how we function as scientists. So
Yep.
we just want you to have fun.
And I had Carrie Levitt in my class when I was an 8th grade teacher, and she asked a lot of questions. And she asked a lot of questions in every topic, not just her favorites, which were astronomy and dinosaurs. But she was always curious about what was going on around her. And she's the dinosaur lady now. And she's going to put on a great program on October 25th. Sign up to get your spot if you're interested in seeing that at the Bartlett Public Library on October 25th.
And one other part, we can put that link back in. One other thing, well, two other things. Science is for everyone. Science is for everyone. There is nobody, it's not, I'm not smart enough. It's not, I can't read fast enough. Science is for everyone. If you're curious about something, like I just lost track of what I was doing because I'm listening to Mrs. Hernandez answer questions, right? Science is for everyone. And the other thing I'd like to share is that on October 19th, we're going to be having a public show at the planetarium, and I'll let Peggy give more details about that. But Mrs. Hernandez, give us more details about that. But I also want to point out that our new hire, Joe Kellenberger, was in my class as a student, and he also asked a lot of questions. And so let me just tell you that U46 kids become scientists, and they do great things, and they are great contributors, and every single one of you can be can come back and do that. So Ms. Hernandez, tell us about the 19th.
Yeah,
and then it'll be time to
you
go.
can talk to your parents and have somebody bring you back to the planetarium after school at 4:30 or 6:30. It's the same program on Thursday the 19th, and it's $2 a person. And you get to walk around in the telescope room upstairs. You get to see some displays downstairs in the basement, and you get to sit in the planetarium chamber with whoever brought you and look at the stars tonight. I'll do the sky show, kind of similar to what you see when you go in school, but I'll give you a chance to ask questions, and you can find the planets that are going to be up tonight and maybe get some ideas for things that you could look for in the night sky that could be a STEM Expo project. And the theme for the topic for this program is a featured program called Spooky Space. It's really not all that spooky, but it's about pareidolia, which is that characteristic that us humans have when we see something in a puddle of water, or a snow formation on the side of the road from the snowplow, or clouds or stars that we can do a dot to dot with and say, hey, doesn't that look like a dragon snorting fire? Or doesn't that look like a jack-o'-lantern? Or doesn't that look like a witch on a broom? And using your imagination, how there's all sorts of things in the night sky that you can use pareidolia with to identify things in the sky. So it's not a story, it's about finding things in the sky. It's called Spooky Space, and a little nod to our 60th anniversary. 60 years ago in September of 1963 was the very first group of visitors to the U46 Planetarium that's been open and in operation since then.
It's a big month and a big year for U46 and science.
Yeah.
One other thing to mark your calendars, we'll be getting more information to you guys later, but there's going to be a special work session. So you got today, we kind of introduce everything to you, give you an overview. The 25th, you're going to come visit us in person at the Bartlett Library, learning from Carrie Levitt Bussian. And then the 19th, you can come check us out in the planetarium. Again, we'll be there answering questions and giving you guys ideas and learning again. But then February 19th, the Gale Borden Library is going to be hosting a special event for U46 STEM Expo. And they'll be getting the information out. You'll see in the community, you'll get it because you've participated with us. But in that event, we're going to have a lot of support for you guys and help you with your projects so that you feel prepared and you feel excited. We've kind of staggered it throughout the years so that you make sure in April 27th, you'll be ready to roll. So
And I think that's President's Day. It's a day off school, right?
it is. Thank you. Good observation. Yes, I forgot about that. Does anybody have a last minute? It's 6:59, so we're gonna be. Everybody got our email. Everybody knows how to get a hold of us. Well, thanks you guys for coming. We hope you learned a little something. I know I did, and we just hope that you are excited about the expo and that you want to be part of it. So thanks you guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.